Hello guys, thanks for visiting my channel. In this edition we will discuss about the Honda Civic Type R car. This is the new Honda Civic Type R, as you can probably tell from the tremendously large rear wing and the fact that it looks like a selection of power bulges haphazardly applied to a vaguely Honda-shaped hatchback. What that becomes, though, is the most powerful front-drive hatchback around, with 316 bhp. By conventional thinking, that's the sort of power you'd put through all four wheels. Not so Honda, which has recently made setting the front-drive production car lap record at the Nürburgring its thing. It did it with the previous generation Type R and has done so again, so it says, with this, going around the Nordschleife in 7 minutes 43.8 seconds, 7 seconds quicker than the previous Civic Type R. The new car's lap time is very brisk, all things considered. And although doing that doesn't necessarily equate to creating a terrific hot hatchback for the road, it fairly guarantees it will have impressive performance credentials. I won't dwell on the car's looks, but the short of it is that I've put pictures of the Type R on social media and the general reaction, rather than the usual "is it any good?" is holy moly, even that car's mother would turn away from it. There's reason behind the appearance, though. The rear wing and underbody give it positive downforce, which is unique in the class, according to Honda. The body itself has a longer wheelbase than the previous generation Civic, while relocating the fuel tank from beneath the front seats to beneath the rears means that the driver sits 50 mm lower than before. The center of gravity is lower overall, too. Some bonding rather than spot welding means the body in white is 16 kilograms lighter and 38% stiffer than the previous Civics, but the most significant mechanical change is that there's no longer a torsion beam rear axle. Instead, the latest Civic gets a fully independent, multi-link setup. At the front there are McPherson struts but, as is sometimes the way with really powerful front-drive hatches, they're dual-axis ones. Some manufacturers give this setup different names. Ford called it the Revo Knuckle, Vauxhall, Opel the Hyper Strut. On a conventional strut, the whole strut turns when steered, which means there's a large distance between the center of the driven wheel and turning axis, across which distance the wheel-to-work acts, and can corrupt the steering. The dual-axis strut puts the wheel carrier on a separate knuckle, and only that part turns, making the turning axis much closer to the wheel center. The result is a bit like pushing a door near the hinge rather than the handle. The force acts over a shorter distance, therefore the same effort moves the door less. And in this case, hey presto, less to work steer. This can mean, too, that there's less road feel through the steering, but when it comes to 316 bhp and 295 pounds-foot acting through the front wheels alone, that's a compromise worth making. The Civic's engine drives through a 6-speed manual gearbox. There's no flappy paddle option via a limited-slip mechanical differential. As well as all this, the Honda will break an inside front wheel, so it feels less like you're munching the front tires for the sake of it. And the engine? It's still a 2.0-liter 4-cylinder turbo. It retains the same block as the old model, in fact, with the lone, single-scroll turbocharger and tech variable valve timing on the exhaust valves. There's more cooling all around the engine and on some detail bits inside. The oil cooler is now water-cooled rather than air-cooled, there are oil channels in the pistons and the valves are silicon-filled, all for better heat dissipation. But it's the work on the exhaust that has liberated the most power. The exhaust manifold has a water jacket around it, and the rest of this system is freer flowing and easier breathing than before, giving the engine this easier exhaust while maintaining lower temperatures at the top of the engine means the power can be turned up without the engine being inclined to pre-ignite, or knock. The reason for the small, third, central exhaust tube, meanwhile, is to reduce boom at lower revs and on smaller throttle openings. Negative pressure going back into the pipe apparently reduces resonance at low revs but then helps the air flow out at higher revs. What else? There are drive modes, of course, 3 of them, rather than the previous 2. The car starts in sport mode by default, but on each side of it are comfort and plus R, in which the aggression of the adaptive dampers, steering weight and throttle response are ramped down, comfort, or up, plus R. The steering itself has a variable ratio, it's slower just around straight ahead, quickening as you wind lock on, a common and neat trick to combine high-speed stability with the feeling of agility at lower speeds. Which, given that this is a 169 miles per hour car that also purports to be a sporty hot hatchback, is why the Type R has it.